Thank you for joining us on this Friday, the 15th of March at 3 o'clock in room 225. We have a joint committee with the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs, and our good friends from the Committee on Labor and Technology. We are streaming this hearing live via YouTube. If there's any kind of technical difficulties, we will post a public notice as to when we will reconvene. We are going to limit testifiers to 1 minute of testimony, and we'd like to proceed with our 3 o'clock agenda. First on our agenda is House Bill 1945 HD1 relating to a cash out program. And on our testifiers list, we have Budget and Finance. Louis Salaveria or his representative has submitted commentary. Kamakana from UPW.
Good afternoon, Chairs Wakai, Aquino, Vice Chairs Elefante and Moriwaki. Kamakana Kaimalo, United Public Workers. You have a written testimony in support, and we'll stand on our testimony, but happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Pereira from HGEA has submitted testimony in support. We have Teresa Kuehu has submitted testimony. Oh, you here, sorry.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. My name is Teresa Kuehu, and I'm the spouse of an adult corrections officer within the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I'm here to testify strongly against HB 1945 HD1 relating to cash out leave programs. I have previously submitted my written testimony online, but I would like to add some clarification points. First and foremost, the bill seemed to leave too many unanswered questions, especially with definitions. There were no definitions for approved leave versus unapproved leave, cash allowance versus cash out, personal leave and what that encompasses, whether it's vacation, sick leave, and compensatory time, and what the actual basis for accrual is. Although everything seemed really warm and fuzzy, as the writer of the bill put, to help lessen absenteeism or workers calling in sick in order to help lessen stress and burnout, I find it difficult for the writers of the bill to understand that if they've never worked in the industry or had anyone personally involved currently. Honestly, it's a slap in the bill. A bill is a slap in the face to those working the front lines in the department. The intent of the bill is simple. We're not going to hold the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation accountable to determining the root cause of absenteeism and costs of overtime. Instead, we're going to throw money at our frontline workers in hopes that they will just accept their working conditions. Now, with regards to one portion in there, the language is that in order to qualify to use this payout, cash out program, you would have to have not taken 24 hours or more. So basically 23 hours, and then it's approved or unapproved. Approved, why are people being penalized to take needed time off so they avoid that burnout? We have to look at the facts. That's 2 days in 3 months. And this isn't a normal cash out. You're not looking at what you've already accrued. You can only cash out 75% of what is currently earned in the 3-month span. If we're trying to really get rid of the issue of absenteeism, those folks, why would they take 75% when they can just take the day off at 100%? The way the bill is written, it's unacceptable to pass through because there are too many unanswered questions and too many holes. I will be available for any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. Tommy Johnson, the Department of Corrections, has submitted commentary. Members, any questions? Kamakani, sorry, you're the only one here to ask questions. So listening to the concerns of Teresa just now, I'm looking at just the language of the bill, and it says that the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation shall, by mutual agreement between the department with you guys, come up with how this is going to pan out. But do you anticipate that for your members, they will have an option to like avail themselves to this, or they could just not participate?
They could not participate. That was our understanding.
Right. So,
we have actually proposed a similar program. Ours focused specifically on comp time, though. because that's the least likely that you get approved for and the most that you can acquire quickly. So it was an option, it's not a requirement. And in talking to our chief stewards, they believe it would be utilized. It has a similar program, was instituted previously. But yeah, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, so the issues that Teresa just brought up would, I mean, if someone didn't like the parameters and the rules here, could just say like, no, I want status quo and opt out as a member of UPW, correct?
That is correct.
So for clarification, that wasn't what I had said, that's why, but I just wanted to make sure it's an opportunity to clarify.
Sure. Your clarification is what? You want to come here?
My point was that we understand that there's an opt-out, you don't have to, but if we're gonna put that much money into this program and nobody's gonna utilize it because it makes zero sense, why are we putting so much into putting money out and then having administrative costs on top of that to administer a program that nobody will likely use? Because from the conversations we've already had with gentlemen and women who work there, it's a silly, nobody came to them and asked them. They would not use this program. Even my husband, who doesn't have an absenteeism problem, he would not use it because it also impacts ERS. At the end of the day, it takes away from the opportunity of their retirement. Nobody has had conversations how it's going to impact if they use this program, how it'll lessen their time at retirement. There's just too many holes and no one had a conversation with the members. UPW did not even notify anybody. I notified my husband and he helped disseminate information. So,
True, Kamakhan?
So
Talk to your members.
what happened was we've been having summits with the department about, certain issues that we could try to resolve together. This is one program we proposed, but the department came back and said it wasn't feasible. This bill came about with us just having a conversation with the labor chair on the House side as to looking at ways, right? Retention is a huge problem and trying to figure out a tangible way to address absenteeism, morale, those types of things, because they're all interconnected. So in terms of had we actually notified the entire ACO, the body of ACOs, no, because we never gotten to that point. This bill just came about and we are supporting it because it's similar to a program that we had proposed to the department.
Yeah, but this bill was introduced in January. You haven't had any conversation between the day of introduction till now with your members on?
Well, we had a conversation briefly with just the chief stewards and the stewards, but our conversation with the department never went anywhere. So we're just supporting this bill because it's similar to something we proposed, but it's not exactly, if this pilot program moves forward, there's going to have to be a conversation, obviously. And legitimately, I think Office of Collective Bargaining has brought up concerns about how this should actually be done through collective bargaining, and we agree. But you need two parties to enter into a MOU or a supplemental agreement. So that's kind of where we're at. We haven't had the time to reach out to the ACOs to discuss this. We're just supporting it because it's something that some of our ACOs had brought up as to potentially being successful at addressing some of the issues.
Okay. I mean, if this bill moves forward, I highly suggest that between now and the next hearing that you start having that conversation rather than figure out stuff at the end if it makes it all the way through to the governor's desk. Members, any further questions? Senator Moriwaki.
I don't know if the OCB is here. Yeah, could you come up? Because I think this is an item that is important, but I think it is a negotiable item. So I don't know if this is premature just because it came up in our hearings, whether it's something we want to pursue.
Wilbert Hulk, Office of Collective Bargaining, Chief Negotiator. I haven't really looked at this bill very closely to really give it a strong opinion on it. But I did in briefly looking at it, there are areas that need to be bargained.
I mean, it's better if you folks have none, then you can go back to your members and you can develop something that's more agreeable to everybody.
I mean, we would actually agree with OCB. on that front.
Questions? Okay, thanks, gentlemen. We're going to move on to House Bill 2395 relating to the Hawaii National Guard. Major General Hara.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chairs, and members of the committee. Neil Matsuyoshi representing Major General Hara. The Department of Defense stands on its written testimony in support and is available for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Neil. ERS Thomas Williams has submitted commentary. Senior Master Sergeant Maui Quizon has submitted testimony in support. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2395? Yes, Angela.
Aloha, committee's Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch. So the National Guard is a state branch. It is a reserve component of the Department of Defense when activated for federal missions. It is a reserve force composed of National Guard members or units of each state and the territories of Guam, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia. So now we're talking about not just the Hawaii National Guards, okay, just National Guards in general. And it is officially created under Congress's Article 1, Section 8's ability to raise and support armies. All members of the National Guard are also members of the organized militia of the United States as defined by Title 10, United States Code, Chapter 246. National Guard units are under the dual control of state governments and the federal government. Active duty is activated under or in pursuance of an order or call of the President of the United States or an order of the governor in a time of emergency as prescribed within the law. So I think it is very important that the National Guard can be activated by emergency order. And I'm worried and concerned if this proposal is clarifying or is going to clarify if the National Guard that it refers to is the Army branch of the Department of Defense or another National Guard within the Department of Defense, because there are more than one National Guards within the state of Hawaii's Department of Defense. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on the House Bill 2395? If not, members, questions? We're going to move on to the next measure then. That is House Bill 2461 HD 1 relating to Homeland Security. On our testifiers list, we have Michael Vincent.
Good afternoon, Chair Okai, Chair Kino, Vice Chairs, members of the committee. The Department of Law Enforcement strongly supports this measure. This measure will clarifies that the director will appoint the Cybersecurity Economic Education Infrastructure Coordinator. Also makes it an exempt position, make it a little easier to actually get somebody qualified to fill that position. I'm here to answer questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2461? Members, any questions? If not, I'm going to hand it over to my illustrious co-chair to take the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, up next, we have House Bill 1530, House Draft Fund relating to fire protection. Okay, for collective bargaining agreement or executive policy in effect on and after July 1st, 2025 requires that an employer of firefighters maintains its fire staffing service at a level no less than 4 on-duty firefighters in each company. Okay, up first, we have the chief negotiator.
Good afternoon, Chair Kino, Chair Wakai, Vice Chairs and members of the committees. OCBA appreciates the intent of the bill, but we have to oppose it for 2 reasons. One, operational decisions such as staffing and employee assignments are managerial rights under the collective bargaining law, Chapter 89. And secondly, Unit 11 has in their current collective bargaining agreement a managerial right provision that acknowledges and affirms these rights. So for those reasons, we have to oppose the bill. I will be around for questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have the State Fire Council Chair, Chief Todd. Okay, in support, we have BNF Director. Okay, with comments. Okay, we have Fire Chief of Maui, Chief Ventura. In support. Okay, Fire Chief of City County of Honolulu, Chief Hao. Okay, also in support, City County of Honolulu, Department of Human Resources, Director Miyazaki. Okay, in opposition members, we also have late testimony from the Hawaii Firefighters Association, Celeste Nip. In support, any others wishing to testify? House Bill 1530, House Draft 1. Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Vice Chair.
Yes, thank you. I don't know, is anybody from the firefighters here? I see the importance of having the number of 4 on duty all the time, but we have a workforce shortage. And so on my question, and I don't know if Mr. Holt can answer it, but if in fact it's the employer's right, but also if we don't have the number of, we have vacancies and we can't get 4 people on duty, what happens? So Mr. Holt, I guess you're the closest to answering the question.
I had similar questions in reviewing this bill, and I guess the other problem I have with it is that we don't know if this is a statewide problem or if it's limited to the counties. From what I understand and what little research I've done, it seems to be limited to rural areas. But before these kinds of decisions can be made, it seems to me that it would be important to understand where the problem is. Secondly, to understand why it's a problem. And then to talk about what kinds of things have been done to address the problem before going straight to the answer to the problem.
So what can be done in terms of employer working with the firefighter unions, I guess, to address this problem, because it is a dangerous situation if you don't have enough people on board to fight the fires.
Yeah, and I agree. And as I said, I really don't know the extent of the problem or exactly what the problem is or why it's a problem, but I'd be happy to meet with, all the necessary people to address it and see if we can come up with some kind of solution.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, just so real quick, Will,
Yeah.
since you're here, so would pushing the implementation date further out, pushing it out to allow counties to recruit and to fill their vacancies or to address the position counts necessary that this bill calls for, would pushing the date out assist?
I think we'd still have a problem with the fact that this kind of decision is a managerial decision under Chapter 89. And then you also have, as I said, you have language in the Unit 11 collective bargaining agreement that addresses managerial rights, similar to what I had just discussed about operational decisions around staffing and assignments.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, House Bill 1843, House Draft 2. Again, related to fire protection, but this time establishes the Office of the State Fire Marshal. Okay, up first, we have the Governor. Okay, Office of the Governor, Governor Green. Okay, in support, we have the Attorney General's Office.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees, I'm Deputy Attorney General Jack Ralph here providing some comments on the bill. Very briefly, the bill provides for the appointment of the state fire marshal position for a period of 10 years without regards to chapters 76 and 89 of the Hawaii revised statutes. But if the intent is to exempt the position of the state marshal from chapter 76 for longer than 3 years, then chapter 76 would need to be amended accordingly. I'm happy to answer any questions any members of the committees might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have DLNR, Chair Chang. Oh, DLNR, natural resources. You're up next, though.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of committees. My name is Michael Walker. I serve as the statewide fire protection forester for DLNR Forestry and Wildlife. And the department stands on its written testimony in strong support of the bill, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, up next, Department of Labor, Industrial Relations. Thank you very much. State Fire Council Chair, Chief Todd. In support. Okay, again, Chief Todd, this time in his capacity as Chief of County of Hawai'i. Okay, also in support. Okay, Maui Fire Department Chief, Chief Ventura. Okay, in support. Okay, Chief Hall, City County of Honolulu. In support. Okay, Councilmember Alice Lee, County of Maui. Also in support, Chris Caulfield, Democratic Party of Hawaii. And also in support, Maui Chamber of Commerce. Okay, President Tom Papp. Okay, with comments. Okay. Any others wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, questions? No one from the Fire Council? Okay, please. So currently in the bill, we don't see any term. Actually, in the bill, we see a term of 10 years. In the testimony that's been provided by Chair Todd, there isn't any term. Is there any specific term that the State Fire Council is requesting that the marshal be for, the duration?
There are a number of bills that address the office of the state fire marshal. Some of them have terms, some of them have the governor appoint them, some of them have a working group that appoint them.
But
So
specifically, the
specifically,
amendments that you
this-
guys are requesting.
we were discussing a 10-year term so that it would have overlap with the governor's office. If there's multiple governors that are coming in and out, and so therefore it's a duration that the person could have enough time and experience to adequately address the issues.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the last measure, House Bill 1889, House Draft 1. Relating to workers' comp medical benefits. Members, if you guys recall, we did hear the Senate version of this. Up first, we have Department of Labor, Industrial Relations.
Chairs, vice chairs, committee members, Joanne Fittenhar from the Department of Labor. We stand on our testimony in support and are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have Kirby Shaw, Executive Director of DCAB. In support, okay, Maui Fire Chief, Chief Ventura, Chief Hall, City County of Honolulu, both in support. Okay. Christian West, LW, Local 142. Support, Hawaii Firefighters Association, Celeste Nip. Lead testimony and support. Any others wishing to testify? If seeing none, members, questions? Seeing none, we're going to recess briefly for decision making. Recess.
We're reconvening the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs, and our good friends from the Committee on Labor and Technology for our 3 o'clock agenda decision-making. The first measure is House Bill 1945 HD1 relating to a leave cash out program. The chairs have conferred and we'd like to defer action on this particular measure. The next measure on the agenda is House Bill 2395 HD1 relating to the Hawaii National Guard. The two chairs have confirmed. We'd like to pass this measure out with a defective date of July 1st, 2042. Members, any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2395 HD1 with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes. Senator Wah is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, Labor and Technology, same recommendations. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair
Aye.
votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Favela. Excuse. Recommendation adopted.
On the next measure, House Bill 2461 HD1 relating to Homeland Security. The two chairs have confirmed. We'd like to pass this measure out with a defective date of July 1st, 2042. Members, any discussion? Heard none. Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HB 2461 HD1 of the four members present on PSM. Any no votes? Any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, Labor and Technology Committee, same recommendations. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
All members present, anyone voting no, anyone with reservations, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to House Bill 1530, House Draft 1 related to fire protection. Members, the recommendation is for an SD1 on page 3, lines 11 through 15 in section 2A. We're gonna strike 4. We're gonna add notwithstanding a collective bargaining agreement or executive policy in effect on or after July 1st, 2025, and insert beginning July 1st, 2028, an employer of firefighters shall maintain its fire service staffing at a level of no less than 4 on-duty firefighters in each company, and also a defective date of July 1st, 2050. And mainly, this amendment will allow for delayed implementation and time provided to allow ongoing recruitment and training for new positions to address the concerns in the bill. Okay. Any questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting no on this recommendation. Oh, I am. Vice Chair votes no. Sorry, it's based on the collective bargaining, employers' rights in the bargaining contract. So, any other voting no or with reservation recommendation adopted.
For PSM members, same recommendation. Any discussion? Not Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HB 1530 HD1 of the four members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
All right, House Bill 1843, House Draft 2 relating to fire protection, establishes the Office of the State Fire Marshal. Members, the recommendation is a Senate Draft 1. In Section 2 amendments, we're going to be inserting the AG's recommendations to clarify that the fire marshal position will be exempt from Chapter 76. In addition to that, we're going to insert the State Fire Council's amendments regarding the establishment, appointment, powers, duties, and responsibilities of the State Fire Marshal as noted in their testimony. In addition to that, we're going to specify that the length of the marshal's term will be for 10 years. In addition to that, we're going to insert language that in carrying out the duties of this section, the marshal may utilize the services of the State Fire Council, including its advisory committee and administrative staff as appropriate, and also clarify that the State Fire Council will establish the terms of employment for the position of the State Fire Marshal. And we're going to keep the defective date of 3000. Any questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
HB 1843, all members present, anyone voting no with reservations, recommendation to pass with amendments adopted.
For PSM members, same recommendation. Any discussion? Not Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HB 1843 HD2 of the four members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you very much. And on to the last House Bill 1889, House Draft 1 related to workers' comp medical benefits. Members, the recommendation is to defect the defective date to July 1st, 2050 and technical amendments in the Senate Draft 1. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Okay, House Bill 1889 passed with amendments. All members present, anyone voting no with reservation, recommendation adopted.
For PSM members, the same recommendation. Any discussion? Seeing and heard none, Chair. Senator Elefante vote yes.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1889 HD1 with amendments of the four members present. Any no votes or votes of reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. Thank you for your patience. We're convening the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs and our good friends from the Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection. It's shortly after 3:01 on this Friday, March 15th in room 225. We have one item on this agenda, that is House Bill 1902 HD1 relating to emergency management. First on our testifiers list, we have James Barrows from Hawai'i, has submitted testimony in support. Randy Pereira, also in support. Evan Oe from NIOP has submitted testimony in support. Tina Yamaki might be on Zoom.
They're unavailable on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. We have Lauren Zerbil, who might also be on Zoom.
They're also unavailable on Zoom.
Ted Kafales has submitted commentary. Lindsay Garcia.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of both committees. My name is Lindsay Garcia from Hawaii Realtors. We want to thank you all for hearing this very important measure addressing price freezing concerns when they relate to emergency proclamations. So we understand that the original intent of the price freezing protections that are in the emergency management statutes is likely to protect the public in times of natural disasters and other calamities, which totally makes sense. But as we see, there are situations where emergency proclamations are utilized for more than just natural disasters, and that these price freezing stipulations are supposed to apply every single time. And so we believe that this measure is very important to provide clarity, not only for businesses, but also for consumers to be able to understand when price freezing needs to occur in an emergency and on which products. So please consider passing this measure unamended. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lahaina Strong might be joining us via Zoom.
They're also unavailable on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. David Arakawa from LURF has submitted testimony in support. Don Poiani has submitted testimony in opposition. Victor Lim might be joining us via Zoom.
They're not present on Zoom, Chair.
Glenn Kagamida has submitted testimony in support. Also potentially on Zoom is Leslie Brown.
They're also not on Zoom.
That's all I have for people who have expressed. Oh, I'm sorry. How about Feli Mendoza? IT, is that individual on Zoom?
No, they're also not available on Zoom.
Okay. Members, we have dozens of individuals who have submitted commentary on this measure. Is there James Wallace here in the room? Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1902? Oh, hi, Angela. Welcome.
Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support. And the concern is just what are the boundaries of the functions of the governor's office and the mayor's office in terms of emergency responsibility? Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1902? If not, members, I think we just have one individual.
Aloha. Hello.
Oh, welcome.
Hi, so sorry. I was trying to get in. I was in the waiting room, but my name is Shannon Ii, and I'm testifying on behalf of Lahaina Strong. Is that okay? Can I?
Yep, please start.
Okay. Aloha mai kako. My name is Shannon Ii, speaking on behalf of Lahaina Strong. I'm a kupa of Lahaina for many generations and directly affected by the August 8th wildfire. As a homeowner paying a mortgage on ash and rubble, I find it quite discouraging when even our own senator, who is directly affected firsthand, submits a bill on SB 2904 that included many protections, was shut down crossing over to the House. Mahalo to the Senate, to your work around understanding that these are the things that we need. And I'm going to say that definitely in support of HB 1902 with some of these amendments. 1, summary possession moratorium. 2, residential foreclosure moratorium. 3, mortgage payment deferment. 4, loan payment deferment. 5, credit reporting protections. I'm going to say that it dwindles my hope in my heart after the community of Lahaina cries out for help, and we're even told that this session was going to be about us, that you were going to let Lahaina lead. I, as well as my cousin, dropped everything we were doing on Tuesday, came to the Capitol to share our realities, our struggles, and all the things. This is definitely exhausting, and Lahaina needs a win. I feel like it's the same thing over and over again of what we just asked. I really want my keiki, my mo'opuna, and their mo'opuna to continue to live in Lahaina for generations. But if we continue with business as usual in this house, I can tell you that that's not going to happen. People are not going to be able to pay their mortgages or survive. Our communities will need to move away, and that really hurts my na'au. The thought that homeowners are not going to be able to survive because we don't have protections is just really, really scary. And so I really want to share that it's imperative to our recovery in Lahaina to include language proposed by the AG that includes critical protections that safeguard us through the long-term effects of this disaster by incorporating
Thank you, Shannon, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, mahalo.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on 1902? Oh, yeah, sure. You're James Brown?
James Wallace.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, everyone, and I'm in support of HB 1902. So what that lady was saying about Lahaina seems like nobody cares about Lahaina. And I'm telling you, that should be the #1 agenda of everything. Because thousands of people died. That's the biggest disaster in Hawaii history. So I don't know why everybody's ignoring this, but I'm in support with them. I always support them, and thank you for this time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify in 1902? If not, members, any questions? Okay, we're going to take a brief break prior to taking the vote. Thank you for your patience. We're reconvening the Joint Committee on Public Safety and Intergovernmental Military Affairs and our friends from the Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection for 301 agenda. We have one bill on this agenda that was House Bill 1902 HD1 relating to emergency management. The two chairs have conferred, and we'd like to pass this measure out with one substantive amendment. We heard the cries of the individuals from Lahaina and Lahaina Strong, and would like to insert the content of Senate Bill 2904. This was a SD2. This was a measure that really helped the folks in Lahaina address their mortgage and provide them protection to allow them to put a roof over their heads. So we'd like to add the contents of 2904 SD2 as a part 2 onto this measure, House Bill 1902 HD1. And that is the only amendment for this measure. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 1902 HD1. Chair votes aye. Your Vice Chair votes aye with reservation. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes. Senator Awa is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
CPN, same recommendation. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Richards is excused. Senator Awa is excused.
Thank you.
Measure is adopted.
Great, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you for your patience. We're convening the Joint Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs, and our good friends from the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts. It's Friday, March 15th, shortly after 3:02 in room 225. We are going to limit our testifiers to 1 minute of testimony. And we'll just jump right in with House Bill 2748 HD2 relating to law enforcement. On our testifiers list, we have Michael Vincent from DLE.
Good afternoon, Chairs Wakai, Senior Vice Chairs Inouye and Elefante. The department opposes this bill. All of the law enforcement agencies in the state currently have vehicle pursuit policies, and while I haven't looked at all the county to police department policies, I'm pretty sure they're very similar. They probably all comply with CALEA requirements, ICP requirements. But it's not necessary to have a statute actually requiring these. The issues come up when officers are not following the policies, and I think those are probably things that are best left for the department's disciplinary procedures, investigators, and the courts for those that might be involved. Problematic with this particular bill is with this version when it came out, it's requiring the law enforcement agencies to report data to the Department of Law Enforcement. Department of Law Enforcement should not be the repository or the collector of these reports that are required by the police departments, the law enforcement agencies. Department of the Attorney General currently collects a lot of statistics from law enforcement agencies. If the intent of the legislature is that this data is collected in a central location, that would be a better place. If the legislature is intending on pushing this bill forward. The other area of concern is the requirements for administrative rules. Administrative rules are typically used to implement, interpret statutes, or prescribe law and policy as they affect the public. The statute that's contemplated is fairly specific with respect to what is in these reports. Requiring rulemaking is going to create an additional burden on the departments. It's quite time consuming to begin with, but there's no real reason to have rulemaking if the departments are required to provide this information and collect it to somewhere. But Chapter 91 really isn't needed if the intent is to move this forward. So if the intent is to move this forward, we ask that the Department of the Attorney General, someone else be required to collect the data from our sister law enforcement agencies. We need to work as partners with them, and we don't want to be overseeing their responsibilities in this area. And the big issue also is the Chapter 91 rulemaking. It's not really appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Robert Cavaco from Shopo is in opposition. Stetson Tanaka from HPD has submitted testimony in opposition, or it might be on Zoom. Oh.
Hi, sir.
Go.
Major Stetson Tanaka from HPD's Traffic Division. We are in opposition of this bill. Each county should be able to independently draft a policy based on their specific needs, taking into consideration their training curriculum, available equipment, as well as their unique geographical layouts and communities. As it stands, each county has their own police academy with a curriculum based on their county's needs. I'll be available for questioning.
Thank you, Major Tanaka. Josh Parker from NYU School of Law has submitted commentary. We have testimony from Summer McCollum in support and Victor Ramos in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2748 HD2? If not, members, any questions? Okay, I'm going to hand it over to my illustrious co-chair to take on the rest of this agenda.
Thank you, kind sir. Moving on to House Bill 2270 relating to the Department of Transportation, which establishes a task force to develop and explore alternate routes into and out of the Waianae Coast. Testifying first is the Department of Transportation. They with us on Zoom?
No, unfortunately, they're not on Zoom, Chair.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's everyone who had signed up to testify on 2270. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify in this measure this afternoon? Oh, sir, please come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Oh, James P. Monaco Senior, concerned parent, grandparent, great grandparent. You know, I've been on the coastline for 50 years now since I got married. I'm from Kaligi, born and raised right across from Marriott Housing. And, you know, Waianae is just like Lahaina. There's only one way in, one way out. And I want to thank the people that built Koli Koli Pass. Because if you go up there, the pass was dedicated for the residents of the Waianae coastline. And it was dedicated for us during emergencies. So I really would like to see you folks help them guys fix our road. Yeah, because we do need it. You know, the proposal that was brought before you folks only would have worked back in the 60s.
Time is up, sir. If we could ask you to summarize.
Okay, because what you're talking about our children's lives, people's lives, you don't send them up into the mountains. Our valleys are very short. We're talking about people's lives. So please, don't send them up into the valleys, because if we have waves big enough, we're talking about a big catastrophe. You're talking, being Lahaina or something?
Thank you. Just to be clear, you're testifying in support or opposition?
Opposition.
Opposition. Thank you.
We need to have as many ways out of our community as possible, gentlemen and ladies. Don't stuff us into the mountains. Please don't do that.
Thank you.
Use you guys' intelligence. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? If not, are there any questions?
Sorry, there is one testifier on Zoom, Chair.
Oh, sir, please go forward.
Aloha, Michael Rice, testifying in support of this bill. I'm a lifelong Waianae Coast resident. I've also been fortunate enough that I was able to have access to Koli Koli Pass when my father was still alive and working for the U.S. Navy. However, I do not believe that Koli Koli Pass should be the only consideration for the access road, as the Navy will do everything they can to, just like Pa'akea Road, only open it during what they perceive as an emergency. There should be other options looked into, including potentially going around Kaihana Point, and even building over the my apologies, the Waianae Mountain Range, in order to facilitate traffic, not only during emergencies, but just during everyday traffic. I've sat in traffic almost every day growing up as a kid. Cows get loose, add an hour to the commute time. Somebody jaywalks at the wrong time, another hour to commute time. Thank you very much. I'll end my time.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else on 2270? If not, any questions? If not, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next measure, House Bill 2295, relating to the traffic code, which authorizes stopping, standing, and parking restrictions and prohibitions on property under the jurisdiction of the Director of Transportation and the counties, respectively, and specifies that the counties may issue traffic infractions for violations of such prohibitions and laws. Testifying first on 2295 is the Department of Transportation.
They're not available on Zoom.
In support, that's everyone who had signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? Good afternoon.
Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch. In strong support. So when a subject matter has different offices managing, especially when the responsibility has to be managed by the state and the county, for example. Health, emergency health response is city, long-term health is state, right? Together, it creates an integrated plan. And just like this subject matter, for this proposal of stopping and issuing violations, the purpose of this act is to delegate responsibility to the county with statutory provisions that the county may cite violations. This requires county collaboration. For example, the Honolulu Police Department has data. And the Honolulu Police Department has a very specific way of collecting data. And the Department of Transportation and the Department of Transportation Services, city and state offices requires quantifiable metrics of a baseline average of recorded violations and reported accidents in order to proceed with upgrades and modifications to an intersection, right? So it really does require collaboration. And so my rationale for the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? If not, are there any questions? All right, if not, thank you. That takes us to the end of our agenda.
Yeah, short
Let's
recess. Thank you for your patience. We're reconvening our joint committees with Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs, and our friends from the Committee on Transportation and the Arts. We have and Culture and Arts. Sorry, forgot the culture. I'm uncultured. For the first measure, House Bill 2748 HD2 relating to the law enforcement, we would like to pass this measure out. I think there's some value in having a statewide standard for police chases, but would like to take into account DLE's suggested amendments, one of which was to not have any administrative rules associated with this measure, and agree that the AG is probably the better entity for collecting data and issuing reports. So those are the two changes, as well as technical non-substantive amendments for this measure. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HB 2748 HD2. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Reservations.
With reservation. Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
Senator Awa is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. TCA committee, same recommendation.
Chair's recommendation on HB 2748 is to pass with amendments. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Okay. Vice Chair, I would like to say that I was going to vote no, but with the amendments, I'm not sure if it still satisfies the departments and the agencies, because I think the counties have not weighed in on the amendments. So I'll go with reservations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Elefante.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha is excused, as well as Senator Awa excused. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the next measure, HB 2270 HD1 relating to the Department of Transportation. Like to move this along for further consideration, noting it has a July 1, 3000 effective date. We'll move it on to the next committee as is. Any discussion?
For the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts, Chair's recommendation to pass HB 2270 as is unamended, with 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair, with 3 votes.
Thank you.
For PSM members, same recommendation. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended HB 2270 HD1 of the 4 members present. On PSM, any no votes or votes or reservations. Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to the final bill on the agenda, HB 2295 HD1 relating to the traffic code. Again, same recommendation. Move this on to the JDC committee as is.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on the Transportation and Culture and the Arts Committee is to pass HB 2295 unamended, with 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Hearing none, Mr. Chair, measure is adopted with 3 votes.
For PSM, same recommendation. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended HB 2295 HD1 of the four members present. Any no votes or votes for reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for your patience again. We are now convening the Committee on Public Safety and Intergovernmental and Military Affairs for our 303 agenda on this Friday, March 15th in Conference Room 225. First on our agenda is House Bill 2342 HD1 relating to weapons. The person on testifiers list is Nicholas McLean from the Attorney General's Office.
Chair, Vice Chair, Senators, Nick McLean for the Attorney General. The Department of the Attorney General supports this bill. We also offer comments. We also suggest an amendment related to Section 134-2, which governs permits to acquire. The purpose of this bill generally is to update and modernize state law relating to weapons. These revisions are intended to facilitate enforceability and provide improved notice to the public. I just want to emphasize that it is already a Class C felony to use a pistol or other deadly weapon to commit a crime. So in terms of the baseline of existing law, it's a relatively small change. The purpose is really to clarify and provide notice. So happy to address any questions, and we provide additional comments in our written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Ben Lowenthal from the Public Defender's Office.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Jerry Villanueva. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the Public Defender's Office. And the Public Defender's Office opposes this bill because it's going to lead to unintended consequences. For example, a taxi driver getting convicted of failure to maintain their trip records or failure to put proper signage on their taxi cabs. That's a full misdemeanor. If they are properly able to carry a firearm, they still could be facing 5 years felony conviction. Again, also driving without license, a third offense, having nothing to do with a firearm, but if they are validly in possession of a firearm, but they're driving without a valid driver's license as a misdemeanor, then they also could face a Class C felony. So that's for Section 2. Section 3, the statute, I believe, does not take into account all the other things. Well, there's a rich martial arts culture in Hawaii. And with martial arts—
Jerry, can you summarize?
Okay. There's weapons involved in martial arts. The Kung Fu, they have the swords, they have the staff. With karate, you got the nunchaku, you got the naginate, the long sword, and then also guarding tools, fishermen with their billy clubs for the big fish. There's no exception. There's nothing in the bill that it gives them exception. If they're caught, that's a full misdemeanor on Section 3 of the bill. And so there should be some exception language in there, or some language to account for those kinds of situations.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay.
Brooks Bear from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office has submitted testimony in— oh, hi.
Good afternoon, Chair Wakai, Vice Chair Elefante, and members of the committee. I'm Daniel Hugo, representing the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney. We're in support of this measure, and I'm going to be commenting on Section 2, which refers to the use of the firearm in the commission of a misdemeanor. This is a gap-filling measure. So first of all, just to address the concerns that were raised by the public defender, there still needs to be a causal nexus between the separate misdemeanor and the use of the firearm. So it's not just the mere presence of a firearm while another crime is being committed. But let me give you a clear example of where this measure might work. So for example, right now, if a pet dog is shot, that could be charged as cruelty to animals in the first degree, a felony, and the presence of the firearm would also be charged separately. If that dog, however, is a blind person's service animal that can only be charged as a misdemeanor. And we would not be able to charge the aggravating circumstance of the firearm because 711-1109.5 is a misdemeanor. So this is a gap filling measure that recognizes the fact that the presence of a firearm is an overwhelming aggravating circumstance. So we support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hugo. Michael Rice might be joining us via Zoom.
Aloha, Michael Rice again. I'd like to say that that is not what the law says. It says just mere possession. So if I have my gun in my car and I get into a bad accident and I have to run off because the guy's screaming at me, you know, that's bumps it up to a felony. Even several laws that have been recently passed, anything involving a gun is a misdemeanor. Now this, because you have a gun, it gets automatically bumped up to a felony. As I said, and even the laws about the carrying not swords, but deadly weapons like a knife, you know, that this is concealed. So that's a felony now. This is concealed. You know, if I'm running down the street with a butterfly knife in my hands, does that make it any better than if I just got it slipped in my pocket? Thank you. I yield the rest.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Hunter Arlo from HPD.
Good afternoon. HPD submitted written testimony in support of this bill, and we stand on that testimony.
Thank you, Officer Arlo. James Wallace.
I stand opposed to this bill, and I stand on it.
In opposition. Todd Yakutake might be joining us via Zoom. IT, is there Todd Yakutake?
Just a second.
He is here.
Oh,
Todd.
I'm trying to get set up. Oh, okay, there we go. Aloha, Todd Yakutake. I oppose this bill. Main reason is because I feel it unfairly targets concealed carry license holders. You know, for not necessarily committing a violent crime, but could be something as simple as playing fireworks, which is a misdemeanor. You know, on New Year's Eve, there's 20,000 people playing fireworks and gain misdemeanors. But it just so happens that one person carrying their concealed carry license gun is the one hit with the felony. So that's why I'm opposed to that. And I don't see anything in the bill wording that says otherwise to that. And there's also for criminals out there, I see the purpose for this, but there's already laws that deal with the issue. Prohibited persons, place to keep, unregistered firearms, those are felonies. So a criminal just carrying a gun already has felonies with those too. I do support the unbanning of butterfly and switchblade knives. However, I am opposed to the ban on concealed carrying them. Because a knife isn't. Oh yes. And women typically carry these knives in their purse. But overall, I'm opposed to this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you, Todd. Andrew Namiki Roberts from the Hawaii Firearms Coalition has submitted commentary. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2342? Any questions? A question for the AG, Nicholas? Nicholas, we heard from a couple of people who are in opposition to this bill that just says that pure possession would somehow imperil them, even if it's not used in the commission of whatever crime. Is that correct?
We believe that there would likely be construed a causal nexus. If you know, we're having to suggest language that could make that even more clear, but the way certainly we read the provision, that it couldn't be completely divorced from any context in terms of the possession of the firearm.
Okay, so I don't know if I totally understood your answer. So if I'm committing a crime that's nothing to do with me pulling out my butterfly knife or stick or whatever, I'm going to get charged with this crime. I understand that, but charged with just having a possession of some other weapon that's outlined in this bill.
Well, I'm not familiar with all of the gloss that currently exists, right? Because it's already a crime to carry a gun, carry a pistol under 134-51. It's already a Class C felony to carry a gun while committing a crime. And in fact, it says crime, so presumably it would even apply to petty misdemeanors. So this narrows the focus of that provision. And we think any interpretive gloss on that would be carried over to this provision.
Okay, so do you think that, are you saying that, that your suggested amendments that you outlined in your earlier testimony would take care of that?
I think in terms of this, as written, I think it fairly captures a nexus between the carrying of the weapon and the commission of the crime. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it seems like it's very ambiguous as to where that line is. I will end there. Any further questions?
Yeah, I think I do, actually.
Senator Rose.
So the provision, the part that says provided that a person shall not be prosecuted under this section when the separate section is an offense otherwise defined by this chapter, which is the penal code.
Yes.
Or is the offense of criminality. So it just says that you won't be prosecuted under the, I guess I would view it as ambiguous the other way, that you won't get charged for anything.
Well, under this particular section, right? So this creates a new section of Chapter 134, and that's designed to address the potential situation where, for example, if you're using a firearm to commit for example, a sensitive places violation, right, which is a misdemeanor, that because that misdemeanor is defined already under 134, it isn't double counted, so it's not captured again.
So you don't get charged twice for a gun.
Exactly,
Okay.
and all of this language comes from section 134.21, which is an existing provision of law. It's existed for many years that covers using in connection or carrying in connection with a felony. So it's simply intended to carry that over to the full misdemeanor context.
Okay, so it's adding misdemeanors when it already applies to felonies.
Well, it's adding misdemeanors using the same framework that already exists with respect to felonies, which provides, we think, more notice than the current statute, 134.51, which just says using in connection with any crime, and has been in place for many years and isn't necessarily providing as much notice to the public as it might. So it's just part of a general project to modernize the existing laws that are already on the books and to sort of, in some cases, refocus them.
That makes more sense to me. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
I should have gone to law school. Thank you, Nicholas. We're going to move on. No other questions? We're going to move on to HB 2351 relating to firearms reporting. Person on testifiers list, Ann Lopez, or someone from the Attorney General's office.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Valerie Mariano. I'm the Acting Administrator for the Crime Prevention and Justice Assistance Division, Department of the Attorney General. So the Department of the Attorney General strongly supports this bill and offers the following comments that's already written in our testimony. We respectfully ask your committee to change the defective effective date back to the original effective date of upon its approval and pass this bill. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Valerie. We have James Wallace.
Yes, I'm opposed to HB 2351 and essentially my mistake.
Yep, we got it. Thank you, James. That's all we have for those indicating that they would wish to testify. Is there anyone else here in the room that would like to testify on 2351?
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Acting Major Carlene Lau of the Honolulu Police Department, the Records and Identification Division. We submitted written testimony in support of this bill, and we stand on our written testimony.
Great. Thank you, Officer Lau. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HB 2351? If not, members, any questions? We're going to move on to the next measure, that is House Bill 2353, HD1, relating to criminal justice data sharing groups. On our testifiers list, we have Ann Lopez or Philip Higdon.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Phil Higdon, Administrator of the Hawaii Criminal Justice Data Center. The department provided written testimony in support of this bill, but if I could quickly summarize it, thank you. The department has identified several working groups and commissions whose functions and missions overlap, including membership. The department believes by establishing a permanent criminal justice data sharing working group to consolidate the criminal justice data a permanent criminal justice data sharing and research working group to consolidate the criminal justice data sharing group established by Act 157 and the Gun Violent and Violent Crimes Commission codified under Chapter 134 to accomplish the group's objectives more effectively and efficiently. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Higdon. Michael Vincent from DLE.
Department of Law Enforcement staff testimony support pretty much covered everything.
Thank you, Michael. Cheryl Kakazu Park might be joining us via Zoom.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. This is Jennifer Brooks from OIP on behalf of Cheryl Kakazu Park, and we're going to stand on our written testimony, offering comments and proposed amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ben Krebs from the Public First Law Center might be joining us in person.
Afternoon. Afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ben Krebs for the Public First Law Center. We totally support the efforts to streamline government, and we also support the intent to promote data-driven decision-making, but we respectfully oppose this bill. You have our written testimony in opposition, and primarily our opposition is based on the Chapter 92, the Sunshine Law exemption. There's probably no surprises there. The HD1 merges two groups that are subject to Chapter 92 currently, but then it exempts the new group entirely. And this is, as mentioned, a permanent policymaking group. And this is a textbook case of a group that should be subject to 92. Now, if there's concerns about confidential information, the Sunshine Law has provisions that address that. That's 92-5A6 and A8. And given the job of this group, it's also imperative to consider issues concerning public access to data now in the design phase of the repository, so that a system can be established that appropriately balances the public's need for information and the government's need to keep certain information confidential. In our testimony, we offer a few amendments to address these concerns, and thank you for hearing our testimony.
Sure. Thank you, Ben. Douglas Meller has submitted testimony in opposition, and Todd Yakutake has submitted commentary. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2353? Members, any questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the last measure on this agenda, that is House Bill 2622 HD1 relating to firearms. On our testifiers list, we have Michael Vincent from DLE.
Actually, Senator Jordan Lowe, I decided to make an appearance.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, members of the committee. Yes, the Department of Law Enforcement stands in strong support of HB 2622, and we're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We have Michael Rice joining us via Zoom.
Aloha. Well, I'm not against buybacks. I'm against them being used, being proposed as a method to reduce crime. We have had no evidence of that, including with the most recent one. I believe more could be done with less in regards to this bill, like other methods than like how the buybacks they had on Oahu could be done, like to get unwanted firearms out of households. I've laid a few examples out in my written testimony, and I believe that this could, if buybacks become a regular thing, it could potentially expose those firearms to being stolen through various means, either literally like people just running up, grabbing them out of the trunks during a buyback, stealing a vehicle parked, waiting to turn into buybacks, or even unscrupulous officers within
Thank you, Michael.
various law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. James Wallace.
Yes.
Good afternoon again. Okay, I'm opposed to HB 2622. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. We could do better with the taxpayers' money. Just another gun grabbing bill that won't curb crime. There was a stabbing last week, right? A massacre, stabbing massacre. You guys all heard that. Will they have a knife buyback program? It won't make sense. So this bill is just to chip away from our Second Amendment as usual, and that's the intent. Thank you guys. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, James. Todd Yakutaki might be joining us via Zoom. Yep, there you are.
Aloha, committee. I'm providing comments for this bill. I'm not opposed to gun buybacks. I think there is a purpose. However, I'm opposed to the cost of this measure, almost $1 million for it, which I think can be better used, as we've seen in like that Manoa incident this past week. No guns were involved, but there was might have been a mental health problem there. I think close to $1 million would benefit the community more going toward mental health or other programs, maybe education or social work or something like that. That's why I am opposed to the funding for this bill. And I outline a suggestion for a change to do the gun buybacks at the gun stores or police stations instead, where it doesn't cost as much money for the program. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2622? Yes.
My name is Jennifer Caban. I'm in opposition to HB 2622. For one thing, I think the money could be better used. We heard testimonies from Maui. I think we got to put more effort for Maui. Good people will do the right thing and turn in firearms on their own. They don't need to be bribed. I remember the last time the government tried to bribe people, giving them things to take a shot. I don't think that's a good incentive. I think criminals would most likely use this opportunity to benefit themselves. And I think I like that idea about turning it in at the gun shops. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 2622? If not, members, any questions? Okay, we're going to take a brief recess prior to taking the vote. Thank you for your patience. We're reconvening the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs on our 303 agenda for decision-making on House Bill 2342 HD1 relating to weapons. We'd like to pass this measure out with the AG suggested amendments to clarify provision of section 134-2 HRS relating to permits to acquire firearms as subsection M and read as follows. The requirements of subsection G shall not apply to any applicant for a permit to acquire a rifle or shotgun who, 1, has been issued a hunter education certificate under section 183D-28 that is valid for the life of the person, or 2, has received a written exemption under section 183D-28. Those are the suggested amendments. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2342 HD1. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Senator Rhodes. Aye. Senator Awa is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. On the next measure, House Bill 2351 HD1 relating to firearms reporting. We'd like to pass this measure out with the AG's suggested amendments of changing the effective date to upon approval. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2351 HD1 of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes for reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 2353 HD1 relating to criminal justice data sharing groups, I'd like to pass this measure out with some amendments. Take into account OIP's testimony. We're going to delete the exemption from sunshine, but use their language on page 14, lines 6 through 3 to 6 that will protect individual identification. And we're also going to take the AG suggested amendment of changing it to upon approval. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2353 HD1 of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. On the last measure, House Bill 2622 HD1 relating to firearms. I'd like to pass this measure out with amendments making the effective date July 1st, 2042. And note in the committee report that they might consider an appropriation of $825,000 for fiscal years 24-25. Members, any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante vote yes.
Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2622 HD1 of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Great, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you for your very patient patience. We're convening the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs to make decisions. This is Friday, March 15th at 3:30 in room 225. We're going to make some decisions on House Bill 2523 HD1 relating to electric utility linemen. Members, we heard this measure on Monday. We gave it some time to breathe. There was a meeting on Tuesday of the Electricians Plumbers Council. We're hoping that some resolution could be gotten at that meeting, but apparently that meeting resulted in no changes to the differences of opinion between the two local electrical unions. So I'd like to keep this measure moving in light of the fact that we're getting more and more electrical needs with renewables, as well as just, technology advancement requires more energy needs. And in light of the troubles that we've seen in Lahaina, this is a very dangerous profession, and we really want to raise the bar, not lower the bar. And that's what this bill does, is provide clear guidelines as to who should be licensed to be on lines or even underground utilities, but at a utility scale electrical installations, make sure that we have the right individuals with the right set of skills. And I think this bill gets us to a better place in ensuring public safety in that regard. And also has a tangential benefit of keeping these jobs as best we can local with these requirements. It's hard for someone from the outside to meet some of the standards outlined in this bill. So I'd like to move the measure out with one small amendment with regard to the effective date of the measure. If you look on page 17, members, there are two dates at the bottom of section 12. Right now, this says that this act shall take effect on July 1st, 3000. We're going to change that first date to July 1st, 2027. There's a secondary date that we are going to keep, which is January 1st, 2027. So just that one date change is the only amendment offered for this measure. Any discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Appreciate you having a hearing on this. I appreciate both sides for coming forward. I can understand the reasoning for this. However, after seeing a letter from the Board of Electrician and Plumbers and the reasons for their opposition, as they stated in their letter, and being that we've given time, it's always a difficult position to be put in, in terms of where we are and having to decide. But based on the other review from the electricians and plumbers, I'm not able to support this, so I'll be voting no.
Understandable. Any further discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes on House Bill 2523 HD1.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments HB 2523 HD1. Chair votes aye, your Vice Chair votes no. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes.
Reservations.
Senator Wah is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. We are adjourned.